What's going on, guys? Mark Sanchez here, and we have some incredible news. I got second place overall at the Open Men's OSG Mid-Atlantic Regional Qualifiers. So you know what that means? We are going to OSG in December, baby. I finally had some downtime after the competition. It's currently like Sunday night, so it happened about yesterday, obviously, but kind of just been decompressing, trying to keep up on comms on Instagram. Sorry if I haven't really been super responsive, but kind of just enjoying the time off after the show, and kind of just trying to stick with it. But I wanted to push out onto YouTube how things went, and so punch start ticket, we're going to OSG, baby. So OSG was a ton of fun, honestly. I had never had so much fun in a competition. Everybody that I got to hang out with, compete with, talk to, all super great, friendly people. There was not a lot of complaints for my first OSG. The interesting thing was we didn't have any music, so it's just quiet the whole time, so that was a little bit weird. Honestly, there wasn't really much. I didn't put on headphones or anything like that. Because it's only like my third show, a lot of it was kind of just pushing and pulling and trying to learn and, you know, hanging out with people and trying to get to know some people in the community, especially as we go to these bigger shows. But all in all, had a solid day. Viciously tore open my hand on that timber frame. I want to give you guys a little bit more in-depth thoughts and kind of how I'm feeling about post OSG. Honestly, my body feels great. Yesterday I was definitely drained. I was cramping, I was dehydrated, I was sore. I was a wreck. But we basically, the competition was in Swansboro, North Carolina, right after the show. I was besides the teardown crew, I was pretty sure I was like the last athlete to leave the arena. So basically we hopped into the car and then we drove down and headed over to where we were staying in Wilmington, North Carolina. So ultimately, initial thoughts, it's kind of hard because I've heard a lot of people who've been to OSG qualifiers before saying that it was ran better at other places. And the one thing that I will note out and say is Norse Fitness did really well with hosting a show like this. Especially one thing that I will say about them is they said that this is their very first time hosting a show this large. So personally, I feel like they did a phenomenal job. With like 100+ athletes, we didn't finish till like 8:30. That to me is more like a powerlifting meet. For that being my third show, only my other two Strongman shows, we were done in like less than 4 hours. So when you have kind of that set as that standard, a show from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., obviously going to be a little bit of a different situation, but can't complain, honestly. As far as like the competing experience goes and stuff like that, my only kind of like nits were one, I obviously wasn't watching the live stream as it was happening, but a lot of people were talking about the commentating being pretty poor. They weren't really being educational about the sport. They were kind of just talking randomly with each other, and nothing was really relevant towards the actual event. So that was kind of disheartening because I feel like it's a pretty prime opportunity for people who don't understand strongman or strength sports in general, for commentators to be educating its audience about what people are doing, some tips and tricks that they might have. But I don't know who the commentators were. I didn't personally listen to the entire live stream, basically only the parts where, some of the parts where Open Men were going. And I remember there was one part where me and Scott Dees, who went head to head for first and second place, and they were literally talking about like burritos on the live stream. And it was completely irrelevant, and I think that was personally a little disrespectful, especially one for the athletes, but also for the sport. Other than that, my only other kind of complaint was, and I got kind of the similar story from a lot of other athletes who weren't North Carolina natives, but it was kind of in the middle of nowhere. your best options for food were either driving 40 minutes away to Jacksonville, North Carolina, or basically just eating McDonald's. Bojangles, essentially. Obviously in Colorado we don't have Bojangles, but I've had Bojangles numerous times and I've never been a fan. Don't hate me in the comments, but I'm just not. Big fears going into the show, just being from California and Colorado, humidity was kind of a factor. Luckily the show was indoors. It's been extremely hot this summer, as a lot of you guys are aware, and that was my biggest concern. And if you watch Circus Dumbbell, you can see how much darker my shirt becomes as the events progress. So I thought that was pretty funny. What a fantastic show. I wasn't really expecting to come out with second, to be honest, to be completely realistic. I wanted to say and be confident that I'd podium, but realistically I think that I had kind of envisioned that I'd be dogfighting for third. Everybody in that open men's category were absolute hitters. Everybody was very well-rounded, and it was very apparent. Everybody that was there deserved to be there. So one, I'm definitely truly honored for that to be my third show and to be able to hang around with absolute hitters like that, and definitely know that I'll be seeing them again in the future because they are not going to slow it down anytime soon. For those of you guys who are kind of new to my channel or haven't really been following a lot of Strongman stuff from me, I've been competing in Strongman for less than a year now. Still to this day, less than a year. And being able to get second out of, I believe, 18 or so open men's athletes for OSG, pretty exciting. I'm basically drinking from a fire hose at this point because I'm progressing so fast in the sport and there's so much more for me to learn. I mean, I couldn't even tell you today like how points work and how to like kind of like calculate like, oh, you know, if this person does like 6 deadlifts, like all I need is 7 to win the show or something like that. So for me, I'm just kind of laying it all out every single event, going for broke, and you know, I respect that. I will simply say that I think that's how a lot of sports should be played. Not the whole, oh, well, I only need to do 2 to win, even though I can do like 6, but not that big of a deal in my opinion. But yeah, so next thing I wanted to say is thank you guys so much for the love and support. I was running super late, packing and trying to get ready for my trip, that like I basically just auto-uploaded the video that you guys saw before this, my last workout and flying to North Carolina. I basically just uploaded it in my hotel and went to weigh-ins. So I still don't even think currently there's a thumbnail available for that video, but still working on that, still catching up. I'm completely self-managed on this YouTube. I film everything myself, I edit everything myself. I do all the graphic design work all by myself, so bear with me. I'm trying my hard to stay professional with this channel, but no, I really hope you guys enjoy this content. Last thing, actually, before we get started, basically what I'm going to kind of do is how I normally film my training vlogs, like tell you guys some of my thoughts going into it. I'll play back some of the footage from the stream as well, so you guys get some different angles from my lifts. Talk about things that I probably would have done differently in training, and then things that I probably would have done differently in the actual competition itself. So, about 99% of us opened up with 150 pounds in the circus dumbbell for the open men's. Not a lot to talk about here, really. I kind of am sad that I didn't get my 230 or 250, but pretty much happy with how everything else looked going into it. Nobody was really warming up. Everybody kind of just did some movements with the shoulders and stuff like that, but pretty much everybody just went in and decided to hit the 150 as a warm-up, and then the people that survived basically were the ones that made it past 200. But for the majority of us, I think by the time they got to 190, there was about 8 of us left. And by the time that it got to 210, there was, I think, like 3 or 4. So people dropped off extremely quick, which actually was a surprise to me. I was kind of expecting the majority of people to hang in there till about 210 and start dropping off after 230 or so. But here I believe is 190. Really happy with how well this moved. The big thing that I would complain about with this is that because they were changing platforms and such, the judging was completely inconsistent. And a lot of us were kind of complaining about it. Some people were getting weird no rep calls, and just things weren't exactly making sense or cut clear. 210 pounds here for the circus dumbbell. Really happy with how much that flew. Honestly, not really sure why 230 is such a barrier for me, but here's my attempt at 230 pounds. Yeah, like I said, reffing was pretty inconsistent. Something you'll notice that I'll kind of talk about a little bit later is that they were basically testing out some of the events and weights at the show, which I thought was kind of interesting. So things were just changing on the fly. But here's my 230-pound attempt at the circus dumbbell. Really happy with the clean. I think for a lot of athletes, they forget how much time 60 seconds actually is for an attempt. That right there alone was like a 5-second attempt. So I probably could have tried this for a third, but I'd rather just save my energy for the rest of the events. So took a step back, let myself catch a breather for a minute, and then went for my second attempt here. Both cleans were super easy. Honestly, it's just locking it out. It was my biggest problem. So not too sad about that. Actually really, really happy with that. Moving on to the car deadlift. Originally, the car deadlift was supposed to be last, but they had said that the car needed to get returned to the lot sooner than they were expecting. So they basically just moved it second. Surprisingly, I was actually very surprised about this. Only a couple of us were able to rep it out, let alone do it even for one. As you can see, the guy that I was competing against head-to-head with this, I don't know if he even was able to successfully complete one attempt, but I got, I believe, tied for third in this event, and I got 13. And then I believe the overall winner got first with 15 reps. Looking back at it in retro, I took way too many breaks. Honestly, I should have just let my mind go blank and suffer through the pain. And honestly, I probably could have actually won this event. And winning this event, honestly, looking back on it, probably could have won me the show. So that's one regret that I would say. As far as training goes, what I would have done differently is definitely done more volume than heavy singles. But it is what it is, and that just kind of comes with experience. Let's finish off with 13 reps here. Next, we have the timber frame, which was an absolute... I just don't even want to talk about the timber frame. It was just so bad. They like double taped the tape. They kept changing the weights on people. One lane had a different rule about sliding, and the other rule had another. The other lane had like different rules about dropping, and it was super chaotic. But anyways, here's one of the last few events. Me and Scott Lee's going head to head for first and second place. Honestly, the sandbags, they were so floppy and loose. That big sandbag that you just saw me carrying was only 300 pounds. And it was absolutely not fun to play with. So took a little bit more time there and then basically just grinded it out. I'm really glad I brought my basketball shoes for this event because it made this event so much more smoother. But basically at the time, Scott and I were the very last two athletes to do the very last event for the day, which basically me, Scott, and Joe Payne basically secured the top 3 spots with this event. But leader going into this event needed 8 reps. So me, Scott, and Joe, we all got 8 reps and we all tied for first. I finished my day with tying for third. I won the sandbag medley. I got second in the timber frame carry, and I tied for first in the keg. And with that, I was able to secure second place overall. There's about 17 or 18 really, really strong athletes. And honestly, I'm super blessed. I'm looking forward to prep for OSG World Finals. So, not really much to talk here. I trained keg how I would have trained it. There's not really much retro items there. But honestly, the only thing that I can say looking back on this is I would have done a little bit more conditioning. But ultimately, for my very first year in Strongman, I'm really happy and satisfied with how this event turned out. I have really no complaints, and I'm looking forward to the rest of my Strongman career. Like I said before, I appreciate you guys' love and support. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next one.